If you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. This African proverb inspires Foundation's community partnership to foster collaboration among networks for special needs children, youth, and families in Bucks County. Welcome to FCP Conversations Online, featuring Bucks County nonprofit leaders. Join our discussion with community organizations that share our mission and are making a difference in the lives of our neighbors.
Hello, I'm Ron Bernstein, the Executive Director of Foundation's Community Partnership. Welcome to FCP Conversations Online, and thank you for joining us. Our guest today is Tracy Miller, the Executive Director of Bucks County Housing Group, located on Jacksonville Road in Ivyland. Tracy, welcome, and thank you for joining us today.
Thanks for inviting me to be here, Ron.
Well, let's start out with the obvious question. What is Bucks County Housing Group? What's its mission, and a little bit about its history?
Bucks County Housing Group was founded in 1980, and it's been operating continuously since then. It was the first homeless shelter in the county. It's a private not-for-profit. The mission is basically to make sure that everybody in Bucks County has access to safe, affordable housing.
I think people are always surprised to hear that there's a homeless population here in Bucks County. Can you talk a little bit about that? And do you know any of the statistics around that issue?
I do. Yes, there is a problem of homelessness in the county, but it isn't maybe what most people would envision. Homelessness used to look like people out on the street, sometimes carrying a shopping bag or pushing a cart. Homelessness now looks like families that are under great financial stressors, and so maybe they're doubled up in a one-family dwelling. There are people that are frankly homeless in our county. On any given night, there are more than 400 people in that situation.
So how do people find out about Bucks County Housing Group, the services that you offer, and how do they connect with you?
We have a website, which I guess today is the easiest way to find out about the organization. But people who are experiencing housing crises, who are looking at becoming homeless, or who maybe are already out on the street or staying very temporarily somewhere, can call the Housing Link. That's a system that was relatively recent in our county, but it's working very well. It's a crisis response system for people in a housing crisis. So they call an 800 number at 1-800-810-4434. That begins the process of getting them referred to the appropriate agencies to address their problems.
Well, what happens next? So they call the Housing Link. Is there some sort of intake process? Do you need to learn about their finances? What if it's an actual crisis?
Well, it typically may be an actual crisis. The process starts with a call to the call center, which, although there are people manning the phones, it's often the experience of callers that they get a voicemail asking them to leave contact information. Somebody from the call center will get back to each caller within 48 business hours. At that point, the caller goes through a very short assessment. How big is your household? How many members? Where are you staying now? What is your income? What are the nature and the depth of the problems that you're looking for solutions to? That takes maybe 5 to 8 minutes. From that point, people who are in fact in a housing crisis and need further services are referred for an assessment. That is conducted by a case manager who's well-trained using a standardized instrument to measure the person's vulnerability. And it's often the household's vulnerability. So there may be families that have significant mental health or other behavioral issues that they're struggling with. Many times it's very much just economic, but economic to the degree that a person cannot stay in their current living situation and would be on the street unless there's some intervention.
Well, does the housing group actually own houses or apartments? And how do you decide who gets to access them?
Well, there's a double answer to that question. We do have 80 properties in the county that are rentals for low-income families. Those are not the houses or the situations in which callers to the Housing Link would be placed. We have a number of programs. We have supportive housing programs. We have permanent supportive housing programs. We also have several community-based programs in which people participate. So if we go back to the evaluation, when a person emerges from that evaluation, he or she has a score which says to us this is the priority of this person's need. We then try to match up that person with the appropriate services, and they may, in fact, be referred to our supportive housing program. The low-income housing that we have is sort of for a different demographic. That's rarely for people that are in an acute crisis situation. It's more for low-income wage earners who need a place to live, and it's very expensive, as I'm sure you know, to live in Bucks County.
Well, I know you've talked a little bit about your statistics, and I've heard you mention that you have a lot of children that are in your service. Can you talk about that a little bit?
We do. Sadly, about 60% of the people we serve are children under the age of 18. In the last fiscal year, in our supportive housing and community-based programs, we serviced 135 adults and 235 children. These were families that actually moved into one of our programs. And the typical length of stay is about a year, Ron, but
Okay.
we do a full array of case management services, with the goal being we don't want the families to remain in homelessness. We want them to get into permanent housing in the community.
Now, are most of your clients actually Bucks County residents? Did they come into the county for jobs and then things kind of fell apart on them? Give us a feel for
Sure.
who your clientele are.
Well, the first sort of stunning thing I'd like to share is that the typical homeless client is a 9-year-old child. We serve families primarily, and they are all Bucks County residents. Some may have been recent transplants to our county, but they must have at least 60 days as residents before we can serve them. And they're mostly people who have grown up in Bucks County. It's very few that have migrated here from other places.
Well, that's really surprising. I know you guys partner with a lot of other organizations in the community. Can you talk about some of your partnerships?
I'd be delighted. We're very delighted to be a partner of your organization, Ron. And I don't say that because of this interview. I say that in great sincerity because you've helped us launch a recent program that takes care of transition-aged youth in a shared living kind of concept. These are folks that are aging out of foster care or have untenable family situations, and so they need to live on their own. But they don't have the wherewithal, either financially or the social skills and just sort of the maturity to do that without some helps.
Well, where does the financing come from for the Bucks County Housing Group? I assume you get financing from the federal government, state government, county government. How does that all come together?
Well, it's a composite. We are less and less dependent on federal and state funds, which is a good thing because they are fewer and further between to locate and access. We depend heavily on foundational support. FCP, as I mentioned, is one of our partners that has been a long-standing supporter of the work that we do. We have some others. St. Mary Hospital Foundation has been supporting us for more than 20 years.
If people want to get personally involved with the housing group, how do they do that?
They just need to go on our website or give us a phone call and we can direct them. We have a lot of volunteers. There's a common misconception. People would like to come in and actually work with the homeless families, and that's not something that we can make happen.
I know you've been with Bucks County Housing Group a little over 2 years now.
Yes.
So tell us a little bit about your personal background and education.
Okay. I have a master's degree in clinical psychology. My undergrad degree is in psychology and human relations.
Where'd you go to school?
I went to Mansfield, which is now a university. It used to be Mansfield State College for undergrad, and to Millersville for my master's degree.
Great.
I've always worked with vulnerable populations, and so I've had a long, winding path from having been a federal probation officer for 10 years. I was the mental health specialist for a 10-county contiguous area and worked strictly with chronically mentally ill federal felons, which is a mouthful. I've worked with large nonprofits. I've worked with offender groups. I've worked with actually homeless people in the streets of Philadelphia, beginning back in the early 80s. And that was when homelessness looked very different, Ron.
Right. Well, you've been in the county for a little over 2 years now, so I feel very good about asking this final question.
Okay.
Tell me where your favorite lunch spot is here in Bucks County.
I am enamored with Giovanni's, which is in Jamison. It's a little modest-looking restaurant, and they have the best Italian food around. and I would take it any day.
Sounds great. Anything more you want your listeners to learn about the Bucks County Housing Group?
I would like to mention the fact that in addition to our core services, which revolve around preventing homelessness and keeping people from returning to homelessness, we also have 3 food pantries, Ron, that are sort of strategically located, one in Lower, one in Central, and one in Upper Bucks County. And those are accessed by anybody in those communities that feels they need help with foodstuffs. A lot of people in our county can do rent, but not eat. And that's a very real problem. We serve hundreds of households every week. Wow. We also have a housing counseling department, which offers first-time homebuyers counseling so that they never reach the point where they need to make a decision about can they afford a roof over their heads and can they afford to stay in a family situation.
Tracy, you mentioned volunteers.
Yes.
People can work with the organization. What kind of tasks do you have for volunteers?
Our food pantries are probably the most popular place for volunteers to work. We always need help stocking shelves, checking expiration dates, accepting donations. And also we need help from volunteers when the pantries are open because distribution is a big deal. We have very small facilities and we have many people that stand in line, doesn't matter what the weather is, waiting to get their packages of food.
And where does the food come from?
The food comes primarily from donations, Ron. We do get some through Philabundance, which is something that we purchase, and that is arranged through one of our sister agencies, which is Bucks County Opportunity Council. Mm-hmm. Going through there, we get much more food for the money, so that's a great help to us. But we also have several partnering supermarkets and people and organizations that make tremendous donations because they've run a food drive in their neighborhood. We've had Brownies and Girl Scouts and Boy Scouts and those kinds of groups come in as well.
Well, I think we're really fortunate to have the housing group here with us in Bucks County. Tracy, thank you for the great work you do in our Bucks County community. Thank you for taking the time to share your experience and knowledge leading the Bucks County Housing Group. And thank you to our listeners for your involvement in our community. Visit our Facebook page and like us, subscribe to our YouTube channel, and join the conversation.
Thank you very much.
Foundation's Community Partnership believes that when we join forces, we're stronger. We are better able to support the behavioral health and human service needs of children and young adults in Bucks County. Join us again for FCP Conversations Online. Let's go farther together.